Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultra marathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. It was only loop 8. This runner looked at me and said, I don't know how people run 200 miles. We're only 32 miles in. Nothing was wrong physically. Their legs were fine. Their feeling was good. Mentally, they had already started running tomorrow's race instead of this hour's race. They were out 3 loops later. That's the thing about backyard ultras. They usually aren't lost because of your legs. They're lost because your mind quietly talks you into making bad decisions. Welcome back to the One More Hour podcast, your insider's guide to backyard ultras, last runner standing events, timed events, and the mindset of going one more. Backyard ultras aren't won with speed or with strength. They're lost in the mind. Most runners do not time out. They mentally tap out with time left on the clock. I want you to understand as we talk about this topic today that your brain has one primary job. It's to keep you alive. It doesn't care if you win. It doesn't care if you hit 200 miles. It doesn't care if you hit a personal best. It wants certainty. Our brains love certainty. And backyard ultras are the exact opposite of certainty. Today we are diving into the top 5 mental traps backyard runners fall into and exactly how to avoid them so you can stay in the race when everyone else is breaking. So starting with trap number 1 is time traveling. This is a small mistake that can start to spiral. You're looking too far ahead. Your brain starts living 14 hours from now. It sounds like, I'll never make it to sunrise. We're only 32 miles in. I can't even think about how much longer this will last. You start thinking about 12 hours from now, the night running, 100 miles from now. What happens when you get tired? What happens when you don't want to eat anymore? And so many more thoughts. This creates overwhelm, which leads to panic and an early exit if you cannot get it under control. This is not reality. It's your brain trying to protect you from doing something really hard. So this is what you do instead. Focus on 1 hour. Break the race into 1 hour chunks. That's the beauty about the backyard ultra, right? It's broken into chunks for us. Focus only on the loop you're in. Do not focus on how far or how long you're going to run. Do not even think ahead to the next loop. Focus on this one right now. You can practice this in your training by focusing on the current mile that you are in your long run or the current rep in your workout. Don't think about any of the other reps or the miles. Think about this one right now. It's called micro anchoring. Anchor yourself to this present moment. I want you also to listen to episode 42. It's all about the mental cost of looking too far ahead. And there are 8 examples of how to practice this skill in training. Trap number 2 is running their race. This is when the doubt starts. You start looking sideways and you start comparing yourself to others. This sounds like, everyone looks stronger than me. She's smiling and she's running 45-minute laps. He's not walking at all. I know what he's done in the past. He's a sub 2:30 marathoner. This is also where crew can get you into trouble because they start telling you like, oh, did you see Sally? She's running 45-minute laps and she's coming in all excited. Whoop-de-doo. Like, that can get in your head, right? Talk to your crew ahead of time of what you do and don't want them to update you on, because that can be a downward spiral and create doubt for yourself. None of it matters. Your brain is trying to create an out for you. It's trying to protect you. So this is what you do instead. Remember, appearances lie and backyard ultras don't reward the fastest runner. You do not know what someone else is thinking or feeling. They could be fueling themselves by putting on an act, hoping that others see them as strong when they actually feel horrible. Stick to your plan, your pace, and your mindset. Comparison is wasted energy. If you run someone else's race, you're not going to finish your own. Trap number 3 is the false alarm. The fear starts. Your brain starts misinterpreting discomfort for danger, which then leads to catastrophizing. It sounds like something's wrong. I don't feel right. Why are my legs tired already? I have a blister on my toe. I never get blisters on that toe. My legs are already stiff. That was a bad loop. I'm doomed. You start catastrophizing normal discomfort. Every runner hits waves of doubt and fear and stiffness and soreness and low energy, and it could go on. It is common for runners to fear that one bad loop means the whole race is over. It's not. That's ultra running. Ultra running is very different from racing a road race all out, right? Waves are normal in ultra running. In fact, you should expect them. Teach yourself to expect discomfort and lows and not to fear it. And remind yourself that it will turn around. When it does turn around and the next low comes along, remind yourself and use that data that a bad loop isn't the end of your race. It's part of a pattern and it'll turn around like it has in the past. Ask yourself, is this a forever problem or a 2-loop problem? Can you do just one more loop? And the answer is almost yes. Use that loop as a reset and embrace the next high that is coming. Remind yourself that this is temporary. Your brain is just trying to protect you and it will turn around. Also, be okay with inviting the fear and the discomfort to run with you, to sit with you. Try not to just suppress it. We need to feel our feelings, and that's something that our generation is not good at. Runners are not necessarily good at it. It's something that takes practice and work, and it's uncomfortable. But you can invite those feelings, those sensations to run with you. It will turn around. I think one of the best feelings is when I've had energy lows and I've panicked about the darkness or the loneliness of being out there by myself when there aren't many runners left. I've had the GI problems and the blisters, and I've already given it another hour, right? Like, I've tackled those things head on and said, like, okay, we're going to pop the blister. We're going to take care of it. We're going to sit with this pain. Like, this pain is just going to be there. Or the GI problems. I'm problem solving with hydration and nutrition, figuring out what went wrong. And we're just going to let it dissipate. We're going to get past that wave. And that feeling of getting past the low is one of the best feelings. Getting a better light source, taking a break from fueling to let your stomach reset, talking with other runners, tackling these things with caffeine, reminding yourself that the pain will be gone for like a blister in 10 minutes. Do not catastrophize the little things that will end your race. Everyone out there is experiencing one of these things. And when you realize that you can get through that low and you get to that high, it's one of the best things, one of the best feelings in ultra running, one of the best lessons that there are going to be many lows in life, and you just need to sit with it and work through it to get to the other side. I would also recommend listening to episode 40, which is called When You Want to Quit. Listen to this first. It will remind you of all of these things to keep going one more loop before you quit. Trap number 4 is borrowing from tomorrow. Bad decisions lead to hurt later on. You skip nutrition because it feels really easy right now. You just started and you're paying the bill for tomorrow. This isn't reality. It's your brain trying to protect you. The early comfort lie. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see runners make when coming from the roads and getting on the trails and getting into ultras. I feel great. I don't need to eat or drink yet. I'm only an hour in. Feeling strong in the first few hours tricks runners into skipping nutrition and body care. They dig a hole without realizing it. And it's just like, it's like how you shouldn't wait until you're hungry to fuel on a long run because then you're already behind on fueling. You fuel on a schedule and you stick to it and you start early and you fuel often so you stay ahead of it. The same thing goes for a backyard. Do not get stuck in the mindset of it's early. Do not get stuck in that comfort lie. Fuel and hydrate early and often and stick to your routine. Stick to your sock changes every 5 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, whatever you had planned. Stick to the plan. Yes, when things go haywire, you have to learn to adjust and adapt and problem solve. But part of preventing problems is sticking to your plan. Systems are more important than feelings. Practice that in training. Set alarms for your nutrition and have a repeatable, boring routine every single yard. Backyards reward that boring athlete. Trap number 5 is the lawyer, right? This is the exit narrative. Your brain becomes a defense attorney. It doesn't ask you if you should quit. It builds the case for why it would be okay to quit, and the story becomes believable. Your brain never says quit. It says be reasonable. The rational, logical brain outside of running can't make sense of it. It seems silly, but in the moment, after you've already been running for 22 hours, 34 hours, 56 hours, the mind stories are convincing. I've already proved enough. I've already ran further than I planned. I have work on Monday. I'll be disappointed if I get injured. I can always come back next year. They're all stories. My first backyard, I asked a friend if he wanted to run it with me as a training run for his 100-mile race coming up. And I think it was 2 months out from then. And I said, hey, it's going to be hot weather. It's going to be an excellent opportunity to slow down and practice nutrition. So that's something that you struggle with. So let's practice with running in the heat and let's practice your nutrition and your hydration and let's put a cap on it. I heard him on another local podcast and he said his goal was to win, to outrun everyone. And I texted him and I was like, hey, I listened to your podcast episode and you're not going to stick to the goal, are you? He said, nope, my goal is to run and to win. And when we got to that race, it was clear that was his goal. And I ended up quitting my race so that he could not go further because I did not want him to ruin his chances at this 100-mile race. He's a very high performer. He had the potential to win this 100-mile race if his training went well. And I did not want him to run further in this race and ruin his chances. I had already made that decision in my head. I was feeling fine. Like we were getting into the night. It was cooling off. It was an extremely hot day. We hit over 100 degrees. And I got in my head. I got in my head because I had asked him to do this race. And I didn't want him to go beyond the time that we had set as his original goal. So that's how my first backyard ended. At the time, it seemed very rational. And I made it about someone else. And I got in my head by focusing on someone else instead of myself. These thoughts seem rational in the moment. They aren't necessarily emotional. They're logical, right? But they become emotional because of the state that you're in. That's what makes them dangerous. It's your brain trying to protect you. So this is what you should do instead. Write down a predetermined list of acceptable reasons to stop. Share those rules with your crew, with volunteers at the race. What kind of injury are you not willing to risk? Or where are you drawing the line of not pushing an injury any further? Is it a medical concern? Is it a risk of rhabdo? Is it a safety concern like tripping and falling asleep on the course? Everything else is just your mind trying to bargain with you. I've heard coyotes during my second backyard ultra. I was running by myself. There were like 5 or 6 of us left, so we're all spread out. I heard coyotes. This pack of coyotes starts calling. Instantly, my brain says, maybe they will attack me and I can be done with this. We're like 16 hours in. It's in the fall, so you have a lot of darkness at night. That's what my brain went to. Logically, in the moment, it felt real. It felt logical. Thinking about it outside of the race, like, what? They're not gonna attack me. They're scaredy cats. They're within a mile. They were in the park, but it's like, what? It just does not seem logical outside of the situation. Train a neutral, focused mindset instead of an emotional one. If you have a lot going on in your life, it can be easier to fall into this mindset. You're carrying a larger emotional load. Work on it in your training on a daily basis. Similar to the exit narrative is the identity trap. And I think I need to do an entire episode on this, but I want to briefly touch about it. So, the identity trap is where success becomes permission to stop. I've seen this in a lot of runners that I've coached and a lot of runners that I've ran with, where they say, I've already exceeded my expectations. I beat my distance PR in the backyard or in ultras in general. I've done enough. I've been out here way longer than I expected. And they still feel fine. They still have 10 minutes on the course. Backyards often end because runners mentally celebrate before the race is actually over. I see it all the time. The other thing that I see is when you're down to 4 or 3 or 2 runners, and one of the runners starts saying, I've got this in the bag. Those other runners or that other runner looks really fatigued. They're coming in with 30 seconds left. They're going to be done on the next yard. And they already start celebrating the win. And then it turns around. Then that other runner starts coming in with 5, 6, 7 minutes left. And that mentally drains the runner that had those initial thoughts. And they're done in the next yard. Just completely done. They're mentally done. The winner of a backyard ultra isn't the runner who never has these thoughts. They absolutely do. They just recognize them sooner. They don't negotiate with them. They don't panic because they've expected them. It's like the time warp analogy that we've talked about in the past. We have all these thoughts going past you. You decide which ones you actually grab onto and hold onto. The winners, the backyard winners, are those that just let those thoughts go. They don't even give them any weight. They don't give them any power. They simply run one more yard, and then another one, and then another one, until everyone else has stopped. So please, 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 please remember, if you've struggled with any of these mindset traps, you are not alone. These traps show up for every runner at some point, even the winners. The key is not avoiding them. The goal isn't perfection. It's staying in the game mentally long enough to give yourself a chance and having the tools to respond. So until next time, just go one more hour or one more step. Thanks for tuning in to One More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard. And share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going one more. Connect with me on Instagram at the One More Hour Podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go one more hour.